I just stumbled onto something that I think might change how I see D&D combat forever. So after running 900 battle simulations between a Pit Fiend and a Balor, the winner wasn't the creature with higher stats. I mean, heck, it wasn't even the one with better tactics. The winner was the battlefield itself. And what I found, well, it surprised me, and I think it might surprise you too. So I did some research, and on Reddit, D&D Beyond, Quora, everywhere, everyone assumes the Pit Fiend will win, hands down. Higher challenge rating, superior intelligence, tactical mastery, and honestly, I did too, but I wanted to know for sure. So I created 3 scenarios that would not just test their power, but something far more dangerous. And the results, for me anyway, well, they changed everything about how I think about boss fights forever, or any fight for that matter. So here's exactly what I did. I ran 900 total simulations across 3 different theories that I wanted to test. First was a story battle scenario in a completely neutral environment. Pure stats and abilities would determine the winner. 300 simulations in a featureless void. Then I created a scenario that gave the Pit Fiend home field advantage. 300 simulations in Devil territory. And finally, I gave the Balor home field advantage. 300 simulations in Demon territory. What I discovered across 900 battles completely shattered my assumptions and the way D&D battle works. So let me walk you through the most revealing simulations from each specific scenario. So first, I needed to test Theory 1, pure neutral combat. So I turned to one of the beings in D&D that can make it happen, the Lady of Pain. So picture this, the all-powerful ruler of Sigil, fed up with these 2 fiends causing chaos in her city, opens up a pit in the street. A flash of red, a roar of fire, both creatures tumble into her arena of judgment. A featureless void where only skill matters. No tricks, no terrain, just a fight to the death. At least that's what I thought it would be. I thought the Pit Fiend would get it, easily, right? Well, it was a near perfect tie. The Pit Fiend barely edged out victory at 52%. But here's where it gets interesting. And this is the part that really clicked for me. The fights weren't decided by raw damage. They were won by one devastating ability. It was the Pit Fiend's Hold Monster spell. When it landed, the battle was over. Automatic critical hits, paralyzed demon, clinical execution. But the Balor had its own ace in the hole, death throws. Even in defeat, the Balor could drag the Pit Fiend down with it. You see, I watched in one simulation where the Pit Fiend was down by 10 hit points, practically dead, right? The Balor moved in for the kill. But the Devil landed Hold Monster on a desperate save, and 3 automatic criticals later, it snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. Except, the Balor's explosion still triggered. Both creatures died in the same round. And that's when I started realizing something crucial. In a fair fight, these titans are really perfectly matched. But what happens when the fight isn't so fair? Now, for the second test, I gave the Pit Fiend home field advantage, and I built a story called The Infernal Contract War to test it. So picture this. A raging Balor has been terrorizing the Nine Hells, destroying devil strongholds. Now it's targeting the most fortified position in Hell, a fortress controlled by our calculating Pit Fiend. But the devil made one critical error. It thought it could legally bind the Balor through an infernal contract not to attack it. The Balor's response? Well, it burned the contract and declared eternal war. So in one scenario, there was a narrow bridge over rivers of lava. The Pit Fiend has 1 minute to prepare its defenses. The Balor has to cross the bridge to reach its enemy. 1 choke point, 1 prepared defender. And I thought for sure this was going to be a blowout for the Pit Fiend. Surprisingly, the Pit Fiend's win rate only jumped to 57%. But it did show how the fortress advantage was everything. The Pit Fiend's favorite tactic in this was brutal in its simplicity. Wall of fire right on the bridge. Force the Balor to walk through flames or find another way across. But here's what made these battles epic, at least for me. The Balor refused to play by any rules at all. It is pure chaos after all. And in my favorite simulation, the demon ignored the bridge entirely. It teleported across the bridge to the Pit Fiend, grabbed it in a burning embrace, and did something nuts. It actually hurled them both into the lava below. Mutual destruction. I guess the Balor thought if it couldn't win, it wanted to make sure the devil lost too. Now listen, I have to admit that I was shocked, probably like you are, of how close these numbers stayed. Even with perfect territory, the Pit Fiend can only manage a 5% advantage? And that told me something. I learned something. Raw power and chaos are far more dangerous than I ever realized. But there was still one more test I had to complete, and this one would flip everything on its head. So I created the story scenario called the Chaos Trap. That would test what happens when you take away the Pit Fiend's greatest advantage, its tactical mind. So the story is, for centuries, the Pit Fiend had dominated every battlefield through pure tactical superiority. But there's one enemy it's never been able to defeat, a Balor, whose chaotic realm defies all strategy. So the Pit Fiend decides to end this stalemate once and for all. It infiltrates the Balor's fortress, planning the perfect assassination in the demon's own throne room. But when it arrives, the Pit Fiend realizes it's walked into a trap. The battlefield? A nightmare maze of shifting mirrors and reality-bending illusions. Every surface reflects false images. Pure chaos. Every spell target could be real or imaginary. The Balor designed this room specifically to shatter the minds of tactical creatures like its enemy, the Pit Fiend. And here's the terrifying part. This environment would neutralize everything that made the Pit Fiend a Pit Fiend and everything that made it dangerous. For the first time, the Balor wins at 49 to 46%. I mean, this trend completely reversed. And the mirror maze destroyed the Pit Fiend's tactical advantages and strategic superiority. It couldn't target spells effectively, its fear aura was useless against delusions, and all that careful planning that went into the assassination meant nothing. But the Balor didn't need to plan, it just needed to smash things. In a room full of confusing reflections, mindless rage became the winning strategy. And that's when it all started to come together for me. The discovery that changes everything about how I see D&D combat, and I think it'll help you in your combat. The winner isn't determined by stats, it's determined by the battlefield. No battle in any of these was a blowout, but law beats chaos in a fortress, chaos beats law in a maze, and neutral ground creates a stalemate. Listen, I came back to D&D pretty naive about things. I thought that the big numbers and better rolls were all that counted. I was wrong. I'm starting to think that the environment isn't just pretty scenery, it's the most powerful ability a creature has. So here's what this discovery really means for our campaigns and how we play D&D, whether you're a player or a DM. Sure, big numbers and better rolls help, but what if it's actually about controlling where you fight? Have you ever thought about that? Like, maybe instead of trying to out-damage a boss, you should be thinking about luring that dragon out of its lair, or forcing that lich into open ground, or using the environment to put your enemy at a strategic disadvantage. You know, I'd love to know what everyone thinks in the comments. Have you ever won a fight simply by controlling the battlefield better than just dealing damage? So go ahead, drop a comment below because I'd love to hear what you have to say. Now, if you think this was a fun battle, just click the next video you see on the screen where I pit an ancient red dragon against a Tarrasque.